gonna trash that legacy, that company that now Disney has screwed up the last 5 years trying to please a small percentage of minorities in America? Yeah, we're sick of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Zegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're gonna get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over. You're talking to kids, the parents pay for the tickets. You have to be a dummy as a marketer. If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what? Pay her a couple $1,000,000, go away. We're gonna bring another person to play this role because you just screwed this thing up.
The actress who once graced headlines as the fresh face of a new Disney era is now being whispered Zegler just collapsed in Dubai, not just physically, but professionally. Her career may have finally crumbled. Once hailed as Disney's next Andy, Great Princess Rachel Zegler now finds herself at the center of one of the most explosive and unrelenting PR disasters Hollywood has seen in years. About in backrooms and industry circles, as the star who couldn't hold her image or her relationships together. What began as minor internet grumblings quickly escalated into full-blown public outrage, fueled by a relentless press tour, viral missteps, and an avalanche of online backlash. Insiders reveal that even before the release of her film, concerns were mounting among Disney executives, with reports of tempers flaring behind the scenes.
This girl does not deserve a feature-length film.
After months of mounting tension, dramatic headlines, and uncomfortable interviews, things took a sudden and possibly irreversible turn. What really happened in Dubai has now become the subject of intense speculation, with whispers of emotional breakdowns, career sabotage, and final betrayals painting a far more chilling picture than anyone initially expected.
Apparently, Rachel Zegler is suing Disney Studios for wrongful termination and also discrimination. I literally don't understand what's going on. Rachel just needs to sit down. Like this says, rumor has it, Rachel Zegler might be suing Disney and others for canceling some of her Snow White press tour due to all the controversies. Bro, before the movie even came out, she was talking about how she wants to bring up the woman in this movie and how there's not going to be a prince. And so I understand, like, Disney saying, like, you did so much in this press tour that did not help us in any way and actually negatively affected our movie. So, I mean, honestly, it does kind of...
But before we get to Dubai, let's rewind the clock a little further. Because what happened in that glittering Middle Eastern city didn't appear out of thin air. It was the final act in a story that had been unraveling for months, maybe even years. Rachel Zegler's public image was already teetering on the edge long before the international headlines hit. Her fall from grace began well before she ever boarded a flight. To truly understand the full scope of this collapse, how someone went from Disney royalty to public pariah, we need to go back to the very beginning, back to the choices, controversies, and quiet cracks that were forming beneath the surface long before anyone noticed.
Snow White remake is now one of the lowest rated films in IMDb history. This is such a poor reception for a Disney princess movie, and I'll be surprised if it even has a 1-star tomorrow because the bad reviews keep pouring in by the...
Let's rewind, because the collapse didn't start on foreign soil. It started with Snow White. It was supposed to be the film that reimagined a classic. Instead, it's going down in history as one of Disney's most embarrassing failures. Snow White wasn't just a flop. It bombed harder than anyone predicted. In its second week, it suffered a jaw-dropping 66% box office drop, officially becoming the worst-performing Disney live-action remake to date. Not even Dumbo 2019, which many considered a major misfire, plummeted this hard.
Went from bad to worse for Snow White, and it's shaping up to become one of the biggest bombs of all time.
Theaters sat empty, echoing with a silence that spoke louder than any box office report ever could. Fans began documenting entire screenings where only 1 or 2 people showed up, if that. And these weren't just isolated incidents. Videos poured in from across the country, capturing empty rows, deserted ticket booths, and popcorn machines still whirring for an audience that never came. The trend exploded on social media, sparking a wave of memes and reaction videos, most of them mocking the film's dismal performance. The few who did show up took selfies in front of the hollow screens, turning the entire situation into a pop culture punchline. And while the clips went viral, generating millions of views, none of it was the kind of publicity Disney wanted. These weren't fans showing love. They were highlighting a collapse in real time, just not in a good way. And while Disney execs scrambled for answers, audiences were already pointing fingers at one person, Rachel Zegler. Before the movie even dropped, Rachel was digging her own grave, and not with a shovel, but with a microphone and a Twitter. Account. She had already begun to alienate the very audience Disney needed her to charm long before critics saw a single frame. Rachel was out on a promotional blitz that seemed to do more harm than good. Every interview she gave turned into a viral moment, and not in the way publicists hope for. Whether it was snide remarks about the original Snow White, a casual dismissal of co-stars, or comments that came off as arrogant or tone-deaf, Rachel kept fanning the flames of backlash. Social media exploded with users calling her out, accusing her of lacking humility and respect for the legacy she was stepping into. Instead of building excitement for the film, Rachel seemed to be unknowingly dismantling it, brick by brick. Brick by brick, sound bite by sound bite, Rachel's downfall gained momentum. By the time the movie hit theaters, many potential viewers had already made up their minds about her, and not in her favor. In a now infamous interview, she referred to the prince from the original 1937 film as a guy who literally stalks her. Her exact words, "We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story. Just because we cast a guy doesn't mean it's about romance." She was talking about her co-star Andrew Burnap. And let's just say, that didn't sit well. Not with Disney fans, not with Disney execs, and certainly not with Andrew. Andrew Burnap wasn't just another actor in the film, he was supposed to be the romantic lead, a breakout star. He trained rigorously, studied the character in depth, and committed himself fully to the process of embodying a new kind of Disney prince. He auditioned multiple times, each time hoping, praying, pushing himself to bring something fresh and compelling to the role. And when he finally got the call, when the casting agents told him he had landed the part, he thought it would change his life forever. It wasn't just another job for Andrew. It was a milestone, a potential launching pad into mainstream fame. Interviews with friends and colleagues reveal Andrew had high hopes for the visibility this project would bring. He even told People magazine that he remembered sitting on the ground when he got the news, overwhelmed with emotion. For him, it was the beginning of something big, something extraordinary. That's what Andrew Burnap thought this would be. But as production unfolded, it became clear that this fairy tale might not have the happy ending he had imagined. During the press tour, Rachel practically erased him from the narrative. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby, she said in another interview, half joking. Except, it didn't feel like a joke to anyone, least of all Andrew. Insiders say he felt blindsided, disrespected, and thrown under the bus. According to one source, Andrew had poured his heart into the project, the way Rachel casually dismissed the romantic arc. Not just once, but repeatedly, in interviews, left him feeling completely devalued. To make matters worse, Rachel's remarks weren't just seen as her personal opinion. They were interpreted by the public as a reflection of how the entire production viewed his character. This created a situation where Andrew, once full of hope and excitement, suddenly found himself at the center of a controversy he never asked. 4 reports suggest he attempted to remain professional, but those close to him claimed he felt humiliated, especially as fans and critics began echoing Rachel's dismissive tone online. When Rachel began attacking the very concept of the love story, his role in the movie, the narrative quickly shifted. What was meant to be a classic fairy tale romance turned into a behind-the-scenes feud. Many speculated that the tension on set was worse than anyone imagined, with whispers of awkward silences and passive-aggressive moments between takes. As the press tour continued, it became increasingly clear this wasn't just a creative difference, it was personal. The tension behind the scenes was boiling over, and Andrew was caught in the middle of a PR storm he had no control over. And it wasn't just Andrew feeling the heat. Enter Gal Gadot, one of the most recognizable faces in modern cinema. Known not only for her blockbuster roles, but also for her commanding presence both on and off screen, her casting as the evil queen was supposed to be a masterstroke. Gravitas, glamour, global appeal. On paper, she was Disney's insurance policy. But behind the scenes, that insurance quickly turned into a liability when real-world politics entered the frame. Gal, a former IDF soldier and vocal supporter of Israel, brought with her a passionate global following and a political footprint. Suddenly, the 2 lead actresses found themselves on opposite sides of an emotionally charged international divide. The tension spilled over from the headlines into the studio boardrooms. What followed wasn't just awkward, it was explosive. The atmosphere on set shifted. PR teams were put on high alert. and Disney's so-called dream team, it was beginning to look a lot more like a ticking time bomb. You'd think casting Wonder Woman herself as the evil queen would have been Disney's ace in the hole, but even that didn't go as planned. Things went nuclear when Rachel posted a tweet showing support for Palestine, just days after the Snow White trailer dropped. A move that many viewed not only as ill-timed, but strategically disastrous for a film already struggling to find its footing. The tweet ignited social media instantly, sparking intense debates and dividing fans along political lines. What made the situation even more combustible was timing. The post came during a period of heightened regional conflict, making it appear, at least to some, as though Rachel was attempting to use the film's press cycle to advance a personal political stance. For many inside Disney, this wasn't just a PR misstep, it was a full-blown crisis. Executives were reportedly blindsided. Rachel had not consulted the studio before posting. The tweet didn't just shift focus onto her personal views, it dragged the entire production into a geopolitical minefield. The spotlight was no longer on the film's visuals or cast chemistry. It was now on global politics, divided fan bases, and rising studio panic. The damage was immediate. Suddenly, Snow White's promotional narrative was hijacked, and Disney's PR team scrambling to do triage. Meanwhile, Gal Gadot, long associated with pro-Israel sentiments and her background in the IDF, was unwillingly pulled into the fray. The tension between the film's two leading ladies, once merely professional, was now politically charged. What had started as a single tweet had become the spark in a room full of gas. Didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. What spiraled into an international controversy had now morphed into a full-scale identity crisis for Disney, one it was wholly unprepared to manage. On its own, a political statement might have slipped through the cracks. But when your lead actress is clashing, ideologically and visibly, with a co-star who served in the Israeli Defense Forces and is publicly aligned with one of the most polarizing global issues of the decade, the stakes skyrocket. The fallout was immediate. Gal Gadot began receiving serious threats. Disney had to scramble to hire additional security. Behind the scenes, chaos erupted. The film's producer allegedly flew to New York just to meet with Rachel face-to-face in a desperate attempt to calm the storm. But by then, the damage was done. Gal was reportedly furious. When it came time to promote the film, the tension was no longer speculation, it was visible. Rachel and Gal didn't appear in interviews together. They didn't share a red carpet. At the film's Spain premiere, Gal didn't even show up. A source close to production told People magazine bluntly, "They are not friends. They did a job together. That's it." And Rachel? Once again, she was the common denominator. Internally, Disney was watching their $270 million investment spiral out of control, and they had no idea how to contain the one person at the center of it all. But things were about to get even messier. As if feuding with her co-stars wasn't enough, Rachel lit another match, this time on Instagram. In a post that stunned even her most loyal defenders, she launched into a full-blown anti-Trump tirade. One slide read, "May Trump voters never know peace." Another called Trump supporters a deep, deep sickness. She capped it all off with a final message. Fiek Donald Trump. Now, whether you love or loathe Trump, that kind of rhetoric isn't just polarizing, it's incendiary. And for a brand like Disney, whose audience spans every age group, region, and political identity, it was a PR disaster. Disney didn't just flinch, they froze. A very public and symbolic moment. The physical manifestation of a career unraveling under the weight of relentless pressure and isolation. From the empty theaters to the viral memes, and finally to the breakdown far from home, it was clear Rachel's once bright star had dimmed. What was supposed to be a fresh start with the private UAE event turned into a stark reminder Hollywood's harsh spotlight spares no one. Insiders say this wasn't just about fatigue or stress. It was the crushing weight of a career spiraling out of control, of a young actress caught in a storm she couldn't escape. The question now isn't just how she'll recover from Dubai, but whether Hollywood will give her that chance at all. That ending nails the drama perfectly. It captures the tension and uncertainty around Rachel Zegler's future while inviting viewers to weigh in on the controversy. If you want, I can help you tighten it up a bit for a sharper punch or make it flow more naturally for a video script. Would you like me to polish it up?